Because you will need to talk. At least introduce our routine.
Hey, welcome everybody. We might have a few stragglers join, but we are going to jump in and dive in while it's hot. So we had an amazing guest speaker last week, Damien, that shared with us some amazing tips for social media. So let's take the first couple minutes, as we always do, to share your wins. So I know that those of you that have been consistently with me for the last few months, you have done some incredible things for marketing, internal marketing, external marketing, social media marketing, and all kinds of things to really grow the practice. I've actually been getting like a flood of amazing text messages of great ideas and beautiful things you've done in the practice, and hearing about how your new patients are coming in from that. So I'd love to hear from a few of you. We won't have time to go to every single practice, but if you have a win, like something you did you're so excited about that went really well, I'd love to hear from you. And then keep in mind too, like this is going to help everybody that's here. That's the point of a mastermind, so we can learn and grow and get ideas from each other. So please do share. What have you been doing that works? What have you implemented? What are you excited about?
Hi. As of right now, we've actually implemented a few business strategies, I suppose. We want to, can you hear me?
Yes. I'm trying to figure out who this is though, because I can't see you.
Oh, I'm sorry. We don't have a camera here. I'm Aldo.
Aldo. Okay, perfect.
From the last stuff that you had, that you went over, we've mostly been reaching out to the businesses that are next door to us. And we've been kind of introducing ourselves and giving out our business cards, kind of offering them a complimentary consultation. And so far, I think 2 people have come, but we did that last week, I believe. But I mean, so far, I mean, 2 new patients is better than none. So I'll take that as a win.
That's fantastic. And those are 2 incredible lives. And they're even extra powerful new patients because they're close by, like walking distance to your office. So everyone that comes into their offices, they can refer to you, all their coworkers. So you're going to definitely see a ripple effect from those 2 patients as well. That's awesome. Thanks for sharing, Aldo.
Yeah, of course.
So great idea. If you guys haven't done that, go to all the offices walking distance. It's a totally like super old school thing to do, but very, very effective. Who else wants to share something you're excited about? Welcome to those of you that are new. I know we have a few new people on here today. Feel free to go back and see some of the rewatches.
We just had a health talk with one of the businesses next door, Kilby, called Dakota Regional Periodontics. And we gave a health talk to the boss there and his employees. And we actually are getting them in for a consultation that he's going to pay for. He offered to pay for their initial exam. So we got 4 or 5 of their appointments scheduled. So that is really good. And we're really excited about that. Also, we're offering more resources for people to be able to afford care. We got care credit now. So we're just,
nice.
yeah, doing the training with that. And we just got a network with Blue Cross Blue Shield. So we're working on calling all those people with Blue Cross Blue Shield that we had before and getting them back in and kind of trying to reel them back in and have them come see us now that we're in network. So
That's awesome. Congratulations. That's great. Beautiful. Okay, let's hear from another team. Who else has an exciting
Hi, I'll
one?
share.
Hi, Kelsey.
Hello. We just yesterday started the Easter egg gift raffle thing that we're doing in the office. So if somebody does like follows us on social media or does a review or refers somebody in, they get a Easter egg with like a small gift that's either like a chocolate bar or a gift certificate to a coffee shop. And then we have everyone who does that also gets entered into the raffle for 2 bigger prizes that we have as well.
That's awesome. What a
Yeah.
great way to remind people to refer. That's awesome. So everything, those of you that are here for the first time, or maybe like, what are these things they're talking about? The health talk, this and that. 1, go back and watch 3 watches. And 2, what I'm super, super, super proud of is everybody that shared today. Like, these are things that they learned and 100% took responsibility for and implemented themselves in the practice without their doctors. So like Mariah, I've been working with her for a long time, and the CA before her. And we just decided like we need to give some health talks. They're a brand new practice. She started booking health talks, booking health fairs, and then brought her doctor on board because like that's what he wanted was growth. And these things that we're hearing about from other offices as well, Aldo and Kelsey, like they actually took responsibility, implemented these, did them tip to tail themselves. So a lot of times, something like walking the building or going and asking the neighbors, if they want to come to a workshop that you're having, we don't have to like wait for the doctors to tell us to do that. Do you see that? Like they took responsibility. What am I going to do to contribute to the growth? And they went out and did it and made it happen. And now they're seeing these amazing benefits and rewards. And that's, by the way, what makes you priceless and irreplaceable in your role as well. When you're willing to go above and beyond, like you're willing to be innovative and come up with ideas and take action, that's when it's like, oh my gosh, this person that's working with me is completely priceless. Like I've got to keep them. I want to profit share and give them bonuses. And as we grow, I want them to grow as a person. So it's really cool that in chiropractic, we have the opportunity to do that. It's not like the typical ladder, business ladder. You actually have the opportunity to get in there, like be creative on how can we really build this practice. So I'm super proud of you guys. It's really been cool to see like all the numbers and how they've been exploding these last few months. Anyone else have something really exciting you're dying to share? Nope. Okay. So make sure with like pictures and cute things you're doing in the office, share those in the group. I've got some really cool text just this morning of pictures of things you guys are doing, specials you're running, your lifetime members. Well, every time you implement, share pictures in the group just to give each other ideas and reminders. And we have new people joining every single week. So they'll be able to see that and it'll add a lot of value to them as well. Okay, awesome. So today, let's check, make sure we don't have any other stragglers rolling in here. I think we're all set. Okay, so today is a really exciting topic. A lot of you probably came specifically for this topic, and this is our financial mindset. So at least once a year, but usually about once a quarter, once a year in this mastermind, and then once a quarter, like with your individual team. I like to really revisit with the entire practice, like what is our mindset around money? So like even when you hear money, finances, financials, notice what's happening in your body. does your breathing tighten up? Do you get a little bit stressed or like, do you feel a shift, a physical shift in your body? Or do you feel great and abundant? Are you excited when you hear the word money? So just notice that from a place without judgment, because we all have our own relationship with money. And what's really interesting that I always see is our relationships with money, and every single person that works in the practice, their relationship with money and finances will affect the practice. So even if you're not the person that actually brings patients through financials or collects money, I still like to train once a quarter on this. And it's really powerful. I'm going to show you some cool things that I've implemented to bring more financial abundance to my life. So this is one of those ones that's basically like for you, like to bring abundance into your life and really look at how your relationship with money is, and then see as a result, when you make these shifts, see how it benefits the practice. Even if you have a great relationship with money, just to see how we can make that even better. And by the way, if I am teaching on an actual financial, like this is how you bring a patient through a financial, what you're going to learn today would be 90% of that training. And then 10% would be like the actual paperwork. Like, here's what the paper looks like. We have the platinum plan. We have this plan. We have that plan. So this part is really, really essential because it is going to affect the interaction with your patients. So the way that you feel about money and the way that you feel about value and the value of care is going to make a huge difference. So, I remember growing up, my dad would always like write out checks, write out bills. And it was always this really stressful time for the whole family because he'd grab his checkbook and he'd be like, oh my God, he's Italian. So it was big and loud, this check is this much. And oh my God, our water bill is this much. And I can't believe it. And this bill and that bill. And he would always like complain about every single bill. And even to this day, when I go home and visit my parents, he has his little checkbook on his spot in the corner of the table, and he's writing checks all the time because he actually owns some businesses himself. So it just seems like he's always sitting there writing checks out and complaining about all the checks and adding it all up, how many light bulbs I have to keep on? 47, how many toilets I have to maintain? There's 32 toilets, and 32 toilets flushing every day. Do you know how much that costs in water? So who has a parent like this? Or maybe you're like this. Let's be honest. Yes, totally. So that's really what I knew. Like that was my frame of reference growing up for money. And something was really interesting. I noticed about 6 years ago when I started my business, I sat down with my little checkbooks to write checks, and I got that tense feeling inside. Like, money's going out, like that feeling. And then I just stopped for a minute. I'm like, wait a minute, this is so opposite of what I teach about gratitude and abundance and value. How can I take like my mindset for what I teach about chiropractic and apply it to finances? And I thought, if I think about it, like this is pretty amazing that these checks are not going to bounce, even if it's a close call, even if they're almost going to bounce. It's pretty amazing that they're not. Like if you think of how much money you put out every single month for your bills, your expenses, everything, that's extraordinary that you're able to do that, right? Every time we fill our gas tank, like how crazy is gas right now? To be able to do that, I just threw down like $80 yesterday to fill my tank. Yes, I know I'm in the most like expensive gas pocket in the world right now. But like to be able to do that, really, if we think about it, is such a beautiful blessing. And I thought about it like money is very energetic. If someone does something, a service for me, and I go to pay them, what feeling do I have while I'm paying that person? And I started to think about it like, I'm extremely grateful for this person that did this service that made my life easier. And I'm extremely thankful for the electric company that gives me lights and the ability to plug in my Wi-Fi, and I started to think about it that way. So as I was paying my bills, I started to write these little sticky notes that said thank you, and I'd put them on the check and then put it in the envelope, even to the electric company and the utilities. And I started doing this and I noticed like it sounds so cheesy, but the whole way that I was feeling shifted. And I started to feel really grateful and abundant and excited. And like every time I got to write another check, I'd get more and more excited. And I played this little game with myself, like, how can I get more excited and more thankful every time I get to spend money? And so I started writing thank you in the memos, and then like some people little thank you notes, and putting that in. And to this day, when I write my checks, like I always write thank you on the memos, and I'll show you my for my office rent, right? This is going out today. And I always write thank you on the back. Like this is just sitting on my desk. I didn't plan that. And I think about how grateful I am for this opportunity. And what was really amazing is that was a huge shift for me that month when I made that decision. That was the shift from like living paycheck to paycheck to not. And I'll always remember that time because it was a shift from scarcity to abundance. And such a powerful time. And I thought, I've got to share this with my CAs, even though it seemed impossible. Like at the time, things that happened in life, I had just hit rock bottom, like crazy stuff, guys. Like I lived in my car for a while. That was a long time ago. But basically, making that shift made such a big difference. So that's what I wanted to share with you, is just be aware, be conscious of like, how do I feel when I spend money? Am I super grateful that I have the opportunity to do that? Or am I stressed? Am I nervous? Like what are you putting into that? And that's what you're going to create more of. That's what you're going to experience more of. Because when we're in a state of gratitude and abundance, we're more resourceful. And there's tons of studies on this. Like our brain literally is more resourceful to make more money if we're coming from a place of gratitude, right? Or bring more money into the practice so that you can have more opportunities, a bigger ladder to climb, or more opportunities for bonuses. Like when you create those opportunities and create those resources within the practice, you're creating more opportunities for you to be able to make more money. So it's super powerful that way. And that was something that I really wanted to share with you. There's a book that I like that has an exercise where you take a dollar bill. I actually didn't have one, I just had a 10, and you write thank you on it. And then you just post it somewhere where you're going to see it all day long. And that could be a fun thing for your practice too, is to take like $100 bill or a $1 bill, whatever it is, write thank you, post it in your back room or your front desk, and just be grateful for all the revenue. And like show your team. That could be the thing you do in your pre-shift huddle. Show them like this dollar bill is going to represent the massive revenue we're going to bring in. We're going to grow with ease. It's going to be effortless so that all our needs are met. We're all at the income we want to be, so that it's not even a distraction anymore. 1,000% of our focus can be on patient care and serving, because everything's paid for. And like that's what this dollar bill represents. And we're going to post it up here. Or if you're already at that place in practice, then maybe the dollar bill represents doubling or tripling, because the more you bring in, the more resources you have. I heard a really cool quote that money magnifies who we already are, right? So evil people become more evil, grateful people become more grateful, generous people become more generous. So who are we and what do we want to magnify? Like you're all in these practices of super generous healing environment. Let's start to think bigger. What do you guys want to give back as a practice? Do you want to open an orphanage in another country or go on a chiropractic missions trip? Like, what do you want to do as a practice to really change the world and like make a mark on humanity? What do you want to give back? And think in those terms, instead of like, did we meet our numbers? Did we meet our goals? Did we make it? Why not, like, are we so abundant that we can go out and provide for other people or other businesses in the community? Are we so abundant that we can actually together get creative of like, how do we want to serve here? What do we want to do as a practice? And do this with your families too. When you're making family goals, like how often with our families is it just about getting by or the bottom line? Like, okay, how much money do we need to make? Or how much money do we need to make to go on this vacation? Right? Like we make these goals to give back to ourselves, or for my 401k or my this or my that. but what are our goals to give back to others and to really like impact humanity? Let's think bigger. Let's think, yeah, my needs are met. Yes, I'm going on vacation. Yes, all of that's happening and I'm giving back. Do you see the difference there? That's such a great starting place and such a great reference point for making your goals and making your vision. So I forgot to tell you, one of those sticky notes fell off a check and I didn't even realize that it did. I mailed out all my checks. And then I found that sticky note later and I just threw it on my laptop because I needed to put it somewhere, get it off my desk. I like to have a clear desk. So I stuck it here all day long. I'm doing my work, and I keep seeing those words. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And I started to say it to myself, like, thank you, Haley, for being so amazing. Like, oh, that's a really good Excel sheet you just tied up. Thank you, Haley. And I started to like actually just appreciate my work along the way throughout the day. And I can't tell you how much energy it brought me and just infused me with energy. So are you grateful for the value that you're adding to your life and other people's lives? Like really stop for a minute and be honest with yourself and think about that. How much time do I spend being thankful for myself? Being thankful for my own health, being thankful that my heart is beating, that I can get adjusted whenever I want, being thankful for my brilliant mind, my skill set, the value that I bring to this role, and the practice, the fact I found this place. That's a way you can re-energize yourself, is really being grateful for everything that you bring in. So then instead of thinking about, oh my God, my dad argued about bills and was so upset about it his whole life, he's still living in that miserable trap, right? Like, oh, I've got this much going out. Instead of focusing on that, what if we were to just for a moment close our eyes and look back and think about our entire life and everything that was provided for you. Like think about when you were a child, all the meals that were provided for you from the time of birth, the freaking diapers, like everything that was provided for you and your needs were met. And yeah, some of us, maybe not all of our needs were met all the time, but you are alive. So you had enough provided for you to be able to live, right? So what if we thought about everything that's been provided for us, just given freely, that you didn't have to pay for or work for your entire life, from time of birth up until now, everything you've just gotten just because, not because you deserved it or earned it, all the love, all the care, right? All the things that cost money, the physical things that were given to you leading up to this moment now. And what if we were just super grateful for all those gifts along the way that brought us here? And super grateful for everything, even just going throughout your day, every little thing that's given to you. Catching a ride with someone, there's gas you didn't have to pay for. That's a gift. That's a money gift. You know what I mean? Like every little thing that's given to you, presented for you. Do you pay for all your utilities, right? Or are some of them included? Like those are gifts. And the more that we can really, what I found is the more we can be appreciative for the financial gifts that are just given freely to us that we have, the more that we're going to create more of that for us. And you'll bring more of it into your life because what you're focused on is what grows. Have you noticed that? If you're focused on like, I'm fat and ugly, I'm fat and ugly, I'm fat and ugly, guess what? You're going to get fatter. You're going to gain weight. But if you're focused on like, wow, I'm hot. Like look at my muscles in the mirror flat. Have you ever seen those like beefcake people that are always like taking selfies and they look hot? Well, guess what? What are they focused on? Looking great. And they're creating more of that. It's inspiring them to create more of that. So the same thing here for finances is so essential. And just creating more of that, like being really thankful for all the gifts that come. So grab your notepads right now. I've been talking for a long time. I want you to write down 10 things that you have been given today that you can be really grateful for since the moment you woke up. What are 10 gifts that you've been given, maybe for even no reason? 10 things. And also think about like your freaking paycheck. Like I know you guys love your job, right? You love serving and I know you work really hard for that paycheck, but nobody had to give that to you. You know what I mean? Like your doctor didn't have to hire you, doesn't have to keep you on staff. There's a huge job scarcity right now. Like all the people that don't have that paycheck, like that's pretty amazing just to think about that every 2 weeks or however often you get this big fat thing that has value, this big piece of paper. Maybe it's not that big, but maybe if we think about it as big, we can grow and create that. Okay, I'll stop talking. 10 things, rapid fire, 10 gifts you've gotten today. And once you have your 10 written down, I want you to physically stand up so that I know you're done. Got a little glimpse of an office for a moment. If you don't have a camera, if you have a camera, please turn it on. If you don't have one, just feel free to do like a reaction. There's like little reaction button where you could put your hand up so that we know you're done. Yeah, got one person done. Good job. Stay standing for me. And then let's all join her as soon as you're done. Stand up. 10 things that were just given to you today. Awesome, beautiful. If any of you are stuck, anything count. My breath was given freely to me this morning. Some people have to pay for that shit. They're hooked up to machines to breathe, their own oxygen tanks, you know, like really, truly, like what are the gifts that just were given? You didn't work for them. You didn't try hard to get them. Yes, beautiful. More of us are standing. Yes. David, are you standing? I can't tell. You always have great posture. Okay, you always have like standing posture even when you're sitting. Awesome. Laura's up. It's hard to tell, but I'm standing. Oh, that's funny. David just wrote that before I said it. Yes, I think that's everyone, at least everyone we can see. Dr. Jody Green, Larissa and Aldo, feel free to do like your little hands up emoji. Spine and scoliosis, I know you guys have a camera. You can put it on. Okay, awesome. Beautiful. So who feels like you're in a more resourceful, abundant state than you were a couple minutes ago? Just writing those down. Who felt this shift? Yes. Anybody besides me? Awesome. All of you. Beautiful. That's huge, right? Just that little simple thing. And then what are we speaking into ourselves? You can stay standing if you'd like. What are we speaking into ourselves too about finances? Like one thing I had for years, it actually just fell off, but I'm going to put it back up right here behind my main workspace. It said, I am resourceful. I am resourceful. And that's something that I still always love to live by. Like, what's your internal language that you're speaking into yourself about money, right? Is it, I am resourceful. I used to look at my bank account online. If the number was lower than I thought, it was like, you know, or if it was lower than I wanted it to be, it used to be like, oh no, I don't have enough, that feeling. Now I just like to think of it as space. Like, oh wow, I have a lot of space in there. How am I going to fill that up? Like there's a lot of space. There's a lot of room for more money in my account. Cool. Like, okay, how can I get resourceful? Maybe I'm going to sell some clothes in my closet that I haven't been wearing on Poshmark, you know, or like whatever it is. Like looking at it as space takes the pressure off and gives your brain the opportunity to be resourceful. Because when we're in scarcity, our brain, we have tunnel vision. And like our brain literally is not functioning and firing off at 100%. So step one for any financial interaction, whether it be with yourself or with a patient, is how can I bring myself to an absolute place of abundance? If you're going and let's say giving a health talk and you really need those new patients, like if they don't come in, you know, like you really, really need them, you know, if you're coming from that place of like, oh my God, I really need these new patients, you know, I really need this business, whatever it is, I really need this bonus, this money, whatever, you're bringing scarcity into a situation where you're asking for abundance and you're asking for more. How does that even make sense? Like just look at nature and the way that nature works. Everything in nature is abundant. Everything in nature, it produces more, right? How weird would it be if I went out to my garden and I'm like, I want more tomato plants. So I'm just going to stare at the dirt and think about how there aren't any tomato plants in the garden. Like I'm just going to stare at that dirt and think about how there's no tomato plants and I really wish for tomatoes and hope that they magically grow. It makes no sense, right? I've got to get some seeds. I have to get some seeds and plant that shit to make tomatoes. And then each little tomato is going to have a whole bunch of seeds I can harvest and plant more. So what are your seeds? Our seeds are our thoughts. What are your money seeds that you're putting in? Are you staring at the ground or putting in these abundant thoughts? And some of you might be like, what does this have to do with chiropractic? I promise we'll get there. But what I've also found is focusing on this for everybody that works in the practice. If we go into more of a state of abundance, you guys are going to see a lot of growth after this call. Like you're going to see a lot more revenue and collections just making these subtle shifts in your own lives. It's super powerful and I love it. I'm going to see more after this call in my life, just taking this time to focus on abundance. Does that make sense? You guys following me? Yes. Okay. You could tell I'm excited about this topic. I get going. Okay, great. So what are your new thoughts? So you have the 10 gifts that you were given. That's a great exercise you can do when you want more abundance. You have your, I don't even know where it went. It's raining money over here. That's about a $10 bill. It like literally disappeared. It was right here. But you could write thank you on a dollar bill and put it up, or thank you on a sticky note and put it up, and really focus on that gratitude. Instead of focusing on what's not there, seeing it as room for more, you know, in your bank account, in your new patient count. Like, hey guys, we have a ton of room for new patients this week. How awesome is that? Like, what if you celebrated that instead of like, oh my God, we need 6 more new patients. Come on, let's hustle. What if it was like, oh, this is so great. Look, there's 12 spots. You know, like see the difference in the mindset and the starting place. It's like you're starting with momentum. And so, yeah, those are all things that you can implement. And then thinking about like, what are my thoughts? So that's another point. Like, what are my thoughts? And are they fueling me? Are my thoughts like, I'm resourceful? Money flows to me in avalanches of abundance. Like, what are the things that play in your mind? Which, speaking of, I'm going to share with you guys a 2-minute clip that I think you're going to love. So some of you that have been working with me for a while know that I drank the Tony Kool-Aid. I worked for Tony Robbins for a long time and have gone to all of his events and did all my training through him. Not all of my training, but a lot of my training. So I'm a fan, for better or worse. And this is like a 2.5-minute clip that I love. So I wanted to share it with you guys. Sometimes if I find myself going into scarcity, I'll just need like a 2-minute pick me up. And this is one of the ones I use. You guys excited? Let's hear a little drum roll. I'm really bad at drum rolls. So you gotta do it over there. Okay, here we go. 2.5 minutes.
And what you want to do is train a new one. So starting when I was 17, I started doing incantations, not affirmations. Affirmation, you go, I'm happy, I'm happy, I'm happy, I'm happy, I'm happy. What's the problem? You haven't changed your what? Your what? Physiology. If you don't change your physiology, you won't get anything. So an incantation is not only you speak it, but you embody what you're saying with all the intensity you can. and you do it with enough repetitions that it sticks in your head. Like It's a Small World, now the conversation in your head is always the same and it gives you what you want. So you use your body and your voice. So 17 years ago, I started doing things. I was working for Jim Rohn, this speaker, and I was 17 years old. I had long hair, minestrone soup, acne on my face. And I was trying to call on Bear Stearns type of people and convince them why they should go to this man's seminar and be more successful. I was driving a 1968 Volkswagen. And I had earned it $40 a week as a janitor. The only way I did it was park far from the building and then go in, and I love people and I believe, but I put myself in state, and I was able to influence people that were far more successful than I was at the time. I would do something that I still do backstage and have done for 23 years because I don't hope I'm going to be in a good state. I demand it. So I do an incantation using my whole body. I'd say, I now command my subconscious mind to direct me in helping as many people as possible today to better their lives by giving me the strength, the emotion, the persuasion, the humor, the brevity, whatever it takes to show these people and get these people to change their lives now. And I would do that literally driving in my Volkswagen to a meeting in LA on the freeway for 40 minutes. People were looking at me, I'm screaming at the top of my lungs. They're going, I know he's a serial killer. I know he is. But by the time I entered that room, when two people meet, if there's rapport, the person who's most certain will always influence the other person. And I was totally certain, and they were trying to get revved up to certainty. Do you agree with this? Yes or no? I do another one because I was poor. I changed my mindset. I kept doing things, but I never got beyond it. I'd say God's wealth is circulating in my life. His wealth flows to me in avalanches of abundance. All my needs, desires, and goals are met instantaneously by infinite intelligence, for I'm one with God and God is everything. And I would imagine the abundance of my life, and I would feel so grateful. And a year later, I went from making $38,000 a year to making $1 million a year in 1 year. Because successful people do what failures won't. You follow me on this? You know?
Woohoo! That's what I wanted to share with you guys. What did you learn? What did you learn from the 2.5 minutes? Who has a point that stood out? Maybe something you wrote down. Go ahead and take yourself off mute and share.
You don't hope that you will be in a influential state or something, you command it.
Yes, I love it. That's what I wrote down too. That's one of my little morning mantras that I learned, I borrowed from Tony, right? Is when I wake up, I don't hope I'm going to be in a great state. I don't hope I'm going to have energy. I don't hope it's going to be a great day. I demand it. Like that's a decision that we make. So his is, I don't hope that I'm going to be in a great state. I demand it. So you walk into the practice, you don't hope it's going to be a good shift or a good day. You demand it. You choose, you decide. Like this is the precedence that we're setting for the day. And I found when I start my day that way, when I get my head gets off the pillow and I'm like, I don't hope it's going to be a great day. I demand that it's going to be a great day. When I start my day that way, then when it comes to full circle of the night, I hit my head on the pillow. I take a deep breath and I say, that was a day well spent. Can we say that? That was a day well spent, and just end the day with gratitude? Because your day, your time is currency, right? We don't know how much time we have left. We don't know how many days we have. And each day is a day that you're spending. Each moment, each hour. Can you say that was an hour well spent? That was an hour of my life well spent. Number one thing people want on their deathbed, they ask for more time. And you've been given that time. You're here, you're alive, you're thriving. As soon as this call ends, the next hour, can you make that an hour well spent? Time is currency. That's so good. Let's hear from one more person. What did you get? Who got something else out of the 2.5 minutes? Yes, Maria.
Oh shoot, now I lost it. Oh, just the person who's most certain will always influence the other person. And it's something I've kind of been learning, but like haven't put into words that way. So just like your confidence and like your body language and just like who you are really, really affects other people, and it affects their mood. And you can totally change someone else's attitude and someone else's mood by being like confident in that.
1000%. Digging deep from that well in your belly. You know, that really, truly, that's amazing. When if two people have rapport, the person with the most certainty in any given situation is the one that's going to influence. So that's why we spent the first 40 minutes of this call, right, focusing on abundance and financial abundance and gratitude and being grateful for what we have, because that builds certainty and confidence. So building certainty and confidence before going into a financial situation. I love to build my certainty and confidence about chiropractic. Even before meeting with you guys, I have to think about the value of chiropractic to really come from a place that I'm going to make a real difference here. I have to know in my mind, like, this is a priceless gift. Everybody needs this. Everybody deserves this. This is going to change their life forever. And then I begin. Then I walk upstairs. Then I walk into the office. So really coming from that place, like, this is a priceless gift. Beautiful. Did anyone have a third thing? Those were actually the exact two things I wrote down. Did anyone have a third one you want to share? No? Okay, those were the two big ones. I'm going to do another quick screen share with you here and share with you the format. So a lot of people will bring me in, even like fly me into their practice or their chiropractic event to teach on financials, because I'm really good at it. It's one of my strengths. I've been able to help a lot of practices triple, quadruple, grow massively. I mean, I stopped keeping track at this point. I've often taught like this financial structure, and my emergence and practices grow by like 60 to 80%. So when I teach a financial, I start with the financial mindset, and that's what I'm going to share with you guys today. So there's a couple key steps. Anytime you're going to go into a financial situation, write these down, and I want you to give them to the person that does financials in your office. If they want to meet, work with me one-on-one, sit down, actually go through the paperwork, we can do that. I'd be happy to. We can set something up. This part works for everybody, even if I'm just literally sliding somebody's card at the front desk, right? Even if I'm in the back educating them on laser, rehab, whatever special things you do in your practice, whatever your role is, the financial mindset applies. So step one is the big why. What's the big why here? The big why of chiropractic, the why of why are you there? What's your purpose there? What's your purpose in chiropractic? What's their purpose? So one of my practices on the wall, they have, our purpose is to help people fulfill their purpose, or it's like to bring people, it's something along those lines, like to bring people to the healthiest version of themselves, to become the best versions of themselves, to fulfill their purpose in life. And that's really what chiropractic is, isn't it? Like, you're making people healthier, which makes them happier, which makes their relationships better, so that they can find their big why and their purpose and really make an impact here, really make a difference. So what's the big why before going in? Once you know that, it's important that you pile on convictions so high that there's no room for anything else. So this is what Maria had shared with us. The two people with the person with more conviction will influence any conversation, any interaction. So if they have more conviction about the way that they normally buy than you have about the way that you sell chiropractic, because that's what we're all doing, whether we like that word or not, we're selling chiropractic, they're going to influence. If you have more conviction about the way you sell chiropractic and that big why than they have about the way they typically buy, I have to think about it for 48 hours or to talk to this person or that, then you're going to influence the conversation. It's really as simple as that. Like, that's the baseline of all financials. And then, so you're going to pile on conviction so high that there's no room for anything else. So I do this one, before I walk into the room to give a financial, I do it for myself. That's what we've been doing this whole time. Who feels more financially abundant than you did when we started this call? Show of hands. Yes, amazing. Everyone that I can see. I know I can't see everyone at this moment with this screen share. Fantastic. So then once you've piled on for yourself, you walk into the room with them and you pile on so much conviction for them that there's no room for anything else. So you tell them, like, the value of chiropractic. I know that you're here because, and then you fill in that blank. I know you're here because you want to experience a life of health and energy, and you want to age gracefully. I know you're here because you want to get out of pain. I know you're here because you want to be able to run on the beach with your grandkids. let me show you how we're going to make this happen. So pile on the conviction. Keep in mind that if you do financials in your practice, it's just a formality. By the time they get to that point, they already decided they were going to see a chiropractor. They Googled it. They asked their friends. They did whatever they needed to do to book this appointment. They came in, they had the new patient call, the tour, or the pre-consult, the consult, the exam, the x-rays, whatever your process is in your practice. So much happened before they get to their first financial commitment, right? First financial investment, excuse me. So it's just a formality. They've already decided to do this. So it's your job as the financial person to figure out how. So it's not a matter of if, but it's a matter of how. And this is one of my mantras too that I have just in general for chiropractic and for CAs. Like, it's not a matter of if we're going to do this, it's a matter of how. So if I'm on the phone, it's not a matter of if they're going to come in, it's a matter of how. And it's my job to figure out how and to make that happen. If we set a number, we write that down, we're going to go X amount. It's not a matter of if we're going to do it to get the bonuses or whatever. It's a matter of how. If they're going to come in and I'm going to do a financial, it's not a matter of if they're going to sign up for care. It's a matter of how. And it's my job to help them find the resources to do that. And then the very last step here for financial mindset is keep in mind that it is such a priceless gift that you're offering them. It is a priceless gift. So a couple of you may have heard this story before, but several years ago, my nephew wanted a Paw Patroller for Christmas. And the company was really smart. Paw Patrol, if you're not familiar, they're these little like toy superhero dogs that like save the world or something. I'm not even that familiar with them. But anyways, they sell like the different cars. Like there's a fire truck and then a fire truck dog and then a police truck car and a police dog. Well, this company was very smart. Right before Christmas, they released the Paw Patroller, which was this thing you could park all of your cars on. So who knows what I'm talking about here? Who's following? Yes, the Paw Patroller. So my nephew wanted this and he told everyone in the family, and this kid's he came from multiple divorced families. So he has like more grandparents than I can count, more aunts and uncles than I can count. So he went to literally everybody in the family, told them that he wanted the Paw Patroller. So we get on this like little family Facebook feud on Facebook Messenger of who's going to get to buy him the Paw Patroller. Like, no, I want to buy it for him. No idea. Then finally we all decided, okay, Santa's going to buy it for him. Christmas morning comes. We're all staying at my parents' house up in the mountains. And Christian, my nephew, comes down the windy staircase and walks to see the gifts that Santa brought. They're wrapped in red with big gold bows on them. And there's one big giant gift in the middle. And we have everyone there. We have grandma, great grandma, fiance, husband, uncle, aunt. Everyone's all sitting around in a circle in the living room. And my nephew comes down and he rips off the wrapping paper, revealing the words Paw Patroller. And in that moment, everybody, great grandma and all, stood up and said, "It's the Paw Patroller!" Right? We were all so excited. And isn't it true that oftentimes it's more valuable to give a gift than to receive it? Like you get more out of it when you know it's something that they really want. Well, watch this. Your patients really want chiropractic. When they call in, they really want this. This is something they've been looking for, and you have the answer. And as the financial person or just a CA, you're giving them that gift. Like that's literally Christmas morning. If I get to do financials, it's Christmas morning. They've been asking me, they've been begging, they really, really want this. I got them the exact thing they want, and I'm giving it to them. That's it. That's your financial. It's a priceless gift that you're giving. So keep that in mind with your patients every interaction. If they need to like pay a bill or do this or that, or they need to make up visits or refer people because they haven't, keep in mind like you're giving them this gift. And are we phrasing it that way too when we're asking for referrals? Like, who do you want to give the gift of health to? Like, that's really what it's about, right? Not who do you know that needs an adjustment. right? Or who do you know with back pain? Like, who actually walks around life and thinks like, who do I know that needs an adjustment? I mean, I know we do because we're all kind of chiropractic dorks, but like, who else is actually going to think that, right? How about who do you want to really in your life? Do you want to really have the opportunity to live a healthy, fulfilled life? Okay, that's all I have for you guys today on financials. Was it helpful? Thumbs up or hearts? Give me some thumbs up so I can see for reference if you got something for your personal life and mindset and financials. Thumbs up so I can see for reference. Okay. Give me a heart if you got something you could use in practice for your financial mindset. Little heart. Okay, cool. Perfect. So it's not over yet. We have our Q&A. So I do want you guys to all stay till the top of the hour, which is when our call ends. So we have about 8 minutes. And then for questions and answers, any topic, doesn't have to be financial, doesn't have to be mindset, anything in chiropractic. And then if you have more after the 8 minutes, I'll hang around for an additional 10 as always. So take yourself off mute, ask your questions. Those of you that are new, it's your job to write down questions in between our meetings. So between this meeting and our next one, as questions come up, write them down, and this is your time to get that one-on-one care and get those questions answered. Okay, awesome. Who is first? Take yourself off mute, ask your questions.
I do have one question today.
Yes.
So we were just talking about like training schedules and wondering what you did when you worked with Dr. Nona, was it? For like your training schedule and how you worked that. Our doctor was just saying that when he went to some seminar with you guys, he was like, these ladies are so knowledgeable about this. Like they could be doctors. Like they know so much. So he's like, whatever they're doing is working. So you should ask what it is.
Oh, that's awesome. Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah. So what we would do is once a week, no matter what, we did a role play. And it feels like so repetitive and redundant, but look, like it's one thing to be sharp, but another to maintain your edge. So you're going to feel like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm role playing the phone call again. But like, that's how you maintain your edge. You look at any great athlete, like they're on their game. Right? They're practicing every day. Like you're always like you want to be so sharp, like a ninja throwing ninja stars, like so tightened up on every single system, every single script, everything you do in the practice. So no matter what, we would role play something once a week. I'd usually just make the schedule for the whole year. So I would write out like every single script, patient, or like what could we role play? One topic for one role playing day would just be like patient objections on day one, right? And like that was a whole role play day. Another one might be the new patient phone call, and you'd cover the objections there. So you decide if you want to do your role plays with or without the doctors or mix it up. What we would do is we had it every week, we had the schedule, and we just went straight through from the first patient interaction to the last. So some involved the doctors, some didn't. The ones that did involve the doctors, they'd be present for the role play day. So if it was like the exam, right, they would role play an exam, show us all what that looked like. One of us would be the patient, and you literally have to role play real time. Otherwise, you don't have time for this stuff. So it's like 15 minutes once a week. You get together, you get groups of 2, role play, one thing. And then the next week, you do the next. So those of you that own the training videos, the chiropractic assistant training videos that Nona and I made, we actually included a role play outline for your year that you use and you just repeat. So that's in there. Go and look in the documents. If you don't have those videos and you want them, let me know and I can help you purchase those. I have like a promo code too, so I can get you a better price on them. And those videos are all the CA scripts from like day one to basically the whole new patient experience. So you guys are gonna think this is really funny, right? I freaking made those videos. It's of me. I would watch them for training. I still watch them for training. I haven't been in a practice for like 4 or 5 years and have been training and traveling the world full time. Like I still do my training and my role play to make sure that I'm super sharp, because otherwise you forget. It's not like riding a bike where like things will slip through the cracks. Like I literally sit there and watch myself on video taking a new patient call like before I go to somewhere. And it's super silly. I don't have to do that very often anymore. It's like once a year, you know? But anyways, so that like stay sharp, do your trainings, be efficient about it. It's not it's not coaching where you ask questions like, oh, how should we handle this? I don't know. No, this is like the practice for the big game. So that's once a week. And I wouldn't do it on your team meeting day. If you follow like that 6-step staff meeting, one of the steps is role play. You just don't have time then. I'd focus on the meeting and then like do your role play a different day. Everybody needs to know in advance what you're going to role play like a year in advance or at least a quarter in advance. Everyone has a schedule. Everyone's responsibility is to have it memorized, show up prepared, and you just role play through. Whether you've memorized or not, like everybody has to do it. So that's the main training that we followed. We also all had coaches like you guys do, right? So your doctors have coaches, you have your CA coach, and we utilize those resources. So like, are you utilizing me? You guys are really good about that, like reaching out in between calls, coming to these calls, pin marking calls that you want, like the rewatch. While we're on the call, be like, oh, that was good. I want to hear that again. Okay, we're 37 minutes into the call, you know, or my CA who's not here needs to hear that. I'm going to have them listen to minute 37 to minute 45. Like you don't go rewatch the whole thing, but whatever key points you need. Does that make sense? So utilize your coaches and then growth. Like what are we doing to grow? The other thing we would do is something to grow pretty often, actually. Like every 2 months we'd go to an event, we'd do an immersion. That's pretty high level though, because like Nona and I were both coaching and starting coaching companies, but I do like once a year something you guys are doing as a team to grow, whether that's like attending one of my immersions or going to some other event that has nothing to do with chiropractic that will be great for mindset. And I could go on, but that's a really good foundation. If you have those things, your weekly role play, your weekly team meeting, your training, and your coach, you're golden. And then if you can throw in like one event a year, that would be even better. Good question. Okay, what else do we have here?
Well, I have a question for finances. How are you handling, like, I know we've talked about it before, but like objections, I still get some, and I feel like I need like a refresh.
Totally. What objections do you get?
A lot of the time it's just like, oh, that's a lot. Well, and I'll get like little things that are like said, but they're still paying for it. I just want to be able to like redirect that. They'll be like, oh, you're gonna drain me dry by the end of the month, like jokingly, but still, I want to be able to change that right away when they say stuff like that.
Totally, yeah. Well, okay, so with something like that, if they're like, oh, that's a lot of money, my favorite way, or that's a lot, oh, that's expensive, or I didn't know it was gonna be that much. My favorite way to handle that is like not reply or try to like change their thoughts. I'm just like, yeah, it is. It is a lot of money, right? Like that it is. Like we don't need to like try to convince them that it's not, or the value, you know what I mean? Like at that point, if they don't know the value, like someone missed it along the line, right? Like the doctor or us or both. So it's just like, it is a lot of money. Yeah. So like just agree. And then one thing that you could say, a bullet point that I really like is, our patients do find that this is an investment that lasts a lifetime. So you're right, it is a lot of money. Our patients do find, but our patients find, like not like you're trying to convince them. I would just say it straight up with absolute confidence. Our patients find that this is an investment that lasts a lifetime. Or you could even say, I'm confident that you're going to find that this is an investment that will last you a lifetime. I mean, really, if you think about it, can you put a price on your health? So like, notice it almost doesn't matter what I'm saying. It's the delivery, right? I am certain in my soul about those words. Like my feet are rooted in the ground. I actually feel like heat inside, excitement when I say that. So that's really important. And it's not a like, but you're not convincing, you're just straight up saying a fact. There's no selling, you're just telling them how it is, you know? That's a good question. Do you have any other objections you get in your financials?
No, just the time. Not financials, it's just time.
Yeah, like
Very
what? Like,
different.
oh, I can't come in 3 times a week because I know you guys are corrective care. What kind of time questions?
How just that it is a lot of time. I think I do say that. I'm like, it is an investment, it is a lot of time, but that's what it takes to correct your spine and get healthy. So yeah, I don't, other than
That's
that's
good.
what I usually say.
Mhm.
But yeah, that's like the biggest thing is just the financials, is those little things like right at the beginning. I'm like, I just
Yeah.
need to say something. So they're like, you're right. Yeah.
Definitely. And with the time one, like, feel free to hold their toes over the flame too. You know, you could even say, like, what is this worth to you? Is it worth being committed, coming in 3 times a week, getting those results? Because I don't want to waste my doctor's time. I don't want to waste your time. Like, what is this worth to you? Are you committed to making this change? It's risky, but not really. You know what I mean? Like, I'd rather solve that now than have a patient that's not committed, that we're chasing. Like, that is going to drain the energy of the entire team. So if they're wavering at all in time commitment at the beginning, it's a huge problem. Like, we're going to want to address that right away and get them recommitted. And then, of course, like, let your doctor know, put that in the notes, you know, that they were wavering and it's something she might address. Awesome. So everybody that's here, thank you so much for being here and spending this time. It's been super rewarding just seeing everything you've created and practice. Good job. We're going to continue on with our Q&A. If you're seeing patients at the top of the hour and need to slip out, I totally understand. I'll be here for 8 to 10 more minutes to answer questions before my next call. What other questions do we have?
Kind of going off of what she said for the financial thing. In South Dakota, we have like, so last week we had a workshop. This guy is a rancher, and his biggest thing was time because he has 3 kids. You know, his wife's a stay-at-home mom. He's a rancher. He lives about 45 minutes out of town. So we ended up setting him up with a home care thing. So we did that. Obviously, it's not what we want. We don't want him. We want him in there 3 times a week. But we kind of put him, I guess, advice for that is like in that kind of situation where someone doesn't have the time and they don't have the time to come into town to be there 3 times a week. Would home care be a good thing? And then just like check in or as often as they could be there? Because that's kind of the options we were exploring this last week.
I mean, I'm going to be straight up because Dr. Kilby's a good friend of mine and I really respect him. You guys are way too nice. Like you're compromising too much. And I'm hearing it every week. Like, oh, you know, we're doing this to help this person. Like, you can't chase patients. You can right now at your numbers, but it'll be too exhausting if you're making these exceptions and this and that, like later. And it really doesn't serve them at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So what I would ask Dr. Kilby, and like stay true to yourself, is like, are we really at the end of the day, like, can I go home at peace, like knowing that I have a different standard for my patients than I do for my own children? You know, like, I know Dr. Kilby's a parent, like, is he recommending things differently for patients than he would recommend for his own family? And if so, like, is that really okay? You know, like, as a doctor, like as a practice, like we have a due diligence really to stick to and advise on like what we know is best for the patient. So that has to be the reference point, and it has to be super clear every time. And I know that he does tell them like his recommendations, but it has to be like really, really, really clear. And sometimes the best way is like, the options are care or care. You know what I mean? Like, sometimes the best way is less, simplifying, you know, rather than thinking about like, how can we make this work for this patient? know, like, what is going to work for them? Like, what do we know based on science, right? Like, what do we know is going to work for them? And how can we influence them to commit to what's going to be best for them? Versus how can we adjust our care, our hour? I mean, I've seen him at the beginning, like even adjust his own hours, to fit patients. And he's like, that's not going to work. Like, those are my chiropractors that have heart attacks when they're 45. You know what I mean? Like, so we can't and sometimes you guys as the CAs have to be like the bouncer and the mean one for your chiropractors, because sometimes they won't do it for themselves. Like, you have to protect their time and their standard and just always bring him back to that reference point. Like, are we willing to compromise for our patients? Are we willing to not advise what we would do for our own families for our patients? Like, how can we come back to that core, or like ask those questions, like, but what's best for this patient? So yeah, we could have him do them, but what's best for him? What's going to get him the results?
Yeah.
Really?
Well, and that's why
Otherwise,
wondering if it was like, I'm like, is this, my biggest question was like, is this efficient? Are we being efficient and focusing on the people that can be in here?
yeah.
Even though we do
There's
want to,
always exceptions. Like, I'm not saying don't make exceptions on occasion, but I'm talking like once a year.
yeah,
Not every once a year, one patient. You know what I mean? Like, not every few patients. Because what's going to happen is he may or may not do his home care. It may or may not work. And then he's going to be like, oh, I tried that chiropractic thing. It didn't work for me. Or I tried chiropractic, but it didn't really work. Let me go get the back surgery or whatever. You know what I mean? So it's just like a lot of energy to produce nothing, or like a little bit of something, like, oh yeah, that was kind of good, or helped some. So just think about that and like trust, like make sure that it's not coming from a place of like being having great customer service, like, I know like he wants to make everyone happy. I know you do too, and help everybody. Make sure it's not coming from that place. Like, if it's coming from like 100% conviction place, and then you're making an exception, like a place of total abundance, that's going to be okay. But if it's coming from scarcity, like, well, what if they don't sign up, or we really want to help them, even if it's just a little bit, like, that's scarcity, even if it's a place of love, right? So checking in on that is going to be big. Did that answer your question? Yes. Okay, good. Awesome. What else do we have? Can probably do one more. If you have one more, we have about 3 minutes before I've got to hop on the next call. Do we have one more question?
I guess I would have one more that kind of ties into that.
Okay.
How do you go about setting up boundaries with your patients? So we have like kind of a group that always want to come in after work. And so we end up filling up our later time and going later. How do you set boundaries with that? Because they're so used to, like, we always fit them in. We always make it work. I'll tell them now.
Does it work for you? Like, is it working for the practice?
Not really all the time. Like, some days it works fine, and then some days it doesn't.
Yeah. One is like, figure out as a team, like, what's your wiggle room? Like, like if you're gonna have wiggle room, like, what is that? So we would see patients, they could come in at 8:45 or 9:45. And then the wiggle room, like that was adjustment hours, that whole cluster. They're getting adjusted. So like our wiggle room was probably about 5 minutes, like I could throw someone on traction while the doctor was still in with a new patient, or something like that. So kind of figure out like, what's your wiggle room, if any. If you don't have any, that's fine. They have to wait. If they're early, they have to wait. If they're late, maybe they don't get seen, or maybe they get to do their traction, but they have to come back for their adjustment. So sometimes like that's a good way to start boundaries too. Like, oh, you just missed the doc. He went in with a new patient, but I can definitely still put you on traction. Come on back. I'll put you on traction. You might luck out, if he's done or can dive out and adjust you, hopefully. If not, like, we can get you in as soon as tomorrow to do a makeup adjustment. So make sure they still get like something, but that's a way to start like transitioning into boundaries with these patients. and just let them know, like, I do have your appointment time is 4:45. You know, I've noticed you've been coming in quite a bit later. Is there a better time for you? Would you want to come in the morning? You know, as you know, like he does go in with new patients, you know, or this is your appointment. Like, so just kind of like ease into it too. Cause if you've been letting them do that for a long time, you can't be like all of a sudden, oh, sorry, you know. So just ease into it and like let them know, you know, we want to make sure you get seen. And so sometimes, like, I would do that sometimes with them, like, even if she was just like in her office, like she didn't really have an appointment, you know, maybe she's in there. I would still make them wait a little bit if they were late, you know, like, I think she's already in her next meeting. We did have you down for 4:45. Let me go ahead and put you on traction. Hopefully she can get you adjusted today. No guarantees, you know, but we'll get your traction going. And then, if you need to, and then sometimes you literally schedule like a makeup, like they'll come in twice the next day or whatever, you know, once for an adjustment, once for adjustment and traction. So I mean, that would be a good one. But the main thing, like, yeah, figure out if a different time works. I know that's hard though sometimes, like there's those after work people. Does that help?
Yeah, that does. Thank you.
Yeah, and then also figure out, like, sometimes you have a buffer, but you don't need to necessarily tell the patients. Like, you don't need to be like, oh, we opened up 6:15 now, you know, because then they'll linger. So you might just have your own office buffer. Like, okay, how late can we do this? Who's gonna stay? Like, have a plan. Okay, we're each gonna take one day a week to put patients on traction for the end of the shift. Then everyone else can leave, you know, like, so figure that out. With keeping it in your boundary, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. Awesome.
Thank you.
I do that with my schedule too. Like, my buffer is actually like very small. Like, I see clients on Tuesdays. You know, and like occasionally like Wednesday morning for a 3-hour gap and Thursday morning for a 3-hour gap. And that's it. You know what I mean? So if someone needs to reschedule for me, it's within that time frame. Now, some of you know, on a rare occasions, I make exceptions, like for my Portland team. but keeping that in mind, these guys are in England, so I had to compromise a bit on my my time gap. Yeah. Awesome. Well, you guys have a great day, and thank you so much for being here and staying. I hope you got a ton of value from yourselves and each other, and keep implementing. You're doing amazing. I can't wait to hear about the abundance. Post in the group, like, more abundance you're seeing from this, the post call ripple. Oh, how sweet, these guys. Oh, look at, thank you. They did the paper. Wait, can I take a picture? Let me get a picture. That's adorable. I got a new phone without the button, the home screen button, and I don't feel like I know how to use it. Like, how do I turn this thing on? Okay, let's see your thank you. Smile, everybody. Give them a thumbs up. Yeah. Okay. Have a good day. Bye.